Hey everyone, Leanne Pilkington here for the latest edition of Courageous Conversations. And with me, I have Kylie Walsh. Hello, Kylie, how are you?
Good morning, I'm great.
Yeah, very excited to talk to you about your new venture. You've got lots of change in your world. Tell us about what you're doing now.
Lots of change. Yeah, look, so I'm doing a couple of different things, Leanne. Predominantly, the core part of my business is coaching and consulting, and hopefully everyone has seen online. We're doing some retreats out of Sydney, which is one part of it.
Yep.
Different functionality within the industry. A couple of different focuses on those retreats, obviously, is some professional development. We do sessions every day. But the big part of it was I just wanted to get everyone in the industry to stop for a minute, take some time out of their every day and be a little bit have some sustainability so they can then thrive. Because burnout and addiction and so many things in our industry is a really big problem.
Yep.
And getting everyone away in small groups at 8 or 10, everyone opens up, has a better conversation. And a couple of days of R&R, massages, boxing, yabbying, yoga, cooking classes. We even did a shooting range.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which was, I wasn't quite sure if that would go down well, but everyone loved it. And the women, oh my goodness, they jumped on it. So that's one part. Another part of the business is I've got a couple of people working for me part-time, and we're doing customer experience analysis. Which we've obviously done a lot of in the last 6 to 10 years, and even previous life at another company. My last 2 companies, I've done a lot of work in that space.
Yep.
So finding out what happens when a customer contacts your team in all different parts, from being a prospective employer to wanting an appraisal, to a buyer inquiry, right down to your tradespeople. And then we give you back a report on that. And then the other one is I'm working with some clients on some key strategies for the next 12 months with some key deliverables.
So the customer service piece is really interesting. I know when we did some mystery shopping of open homes a while back, and that was insights are always interesting with that sort of stuff. Are your clients horrified or relieved when they get the reports, or a mixture of both?
I think I did one for a company the other day, and probably their biggest surprise was they're currently looking to recruit some people, and just what happens when someone actually does make contact with their office, and the experience for a prospective employee that you might be trying to lock down. That journey was interesting, and that's something that I don't think the industry's monitored a lot before. But it's just like pitching for a property, right?
Right, absolutely.
And everyone keeps telling me their number one problem is recruitment.
Yep.
So having a good look at that experience when people reach out either on your website. I've had another client whose link hasn't been working. They've got a careers page, register here for your interest.
Yep.
Link hasn't been working for months.
Yeah.
So just going through and helping everyone that is so busy. I've been in those shoes of trying to keep the doors open and be busy.
Yep.
Getting someone from the outside to have a look in, and then benchmarking that against your competitors, which I think is really important.
Yeah, there's certainly going to be a lot that you can add once you get some sort of critical mass of data. You'll be able to do a lot of those benchmarking reports that organisations like maybe Macquarie Bank and stuff do in the financial space. So that's, I can see a whole retreat coming on that.
Yeah, well, that's really taken off. We've had a lot of interest in that.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Yeah, as I always say, employees are like volunteers. I mean, yes, they do get paid, but they can pretty much work anywhere these days, right? There's so much demand for good people. Yeah. Yeah,
and it's actually been really interesting. When I reached out for people to work in that role between sort of 10 and 2, I have been inundated.
Oh, you would have, yeah.
So I think just, if anyone's looking for people at the moment, is don't be backward in letting people know on your Seek and on your social media when you're looking that you are offering flexibility. And if you're not, then don't be mistaken. That's the number one thing people are looking for at the moment. And even talking to a couple of recruiters in the industry over the last couple of weeks, they've said that it's the first thing everyone asks coming out back of COVID is their flexibility in hours and to work from home.
Yep, and I've just employed somebody into my team, and that's exactly why she's leaving. Where she's leaving is because they won't give her any flexibility. So yeah, it's interesting. COVID's really changed a lot for a lot of people, and so you've obviously had a great corporate career. Why? How do you go about making a decision to actually go out and do something for yourself? Because it's a bit scary.
Sure is. So look, I'm a single mum recently too in the last 12 months.
Right.
So I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but you shit yourself, but
of course you can.
The technical term.
Yeah.
But look, for me, obviously incredibly proud of the last journey, and that was a very, very difficult decision for me because.
Well, you were very invested in that brand. It's a bit like me, and Lang & Simmons, right? Really super invested.
Yeah. But I just had to put my kids first. So allowing me to have the flexibility to do what I need to do. And what's that old saying? You keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. So
it's insanity.
I needed that flexibility. And I love the bush. So for me to be able to have clients in Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane that I can work with, fantastic tick. But to have that bit of time, out in the bush and show people some of the resources of regional tourism so they can then take their families back and share. But I've just seen too many people burn out the industry. And everyone knows, I think I've been quite public with it of late. I had cancer a couple of years ago, and I got cancer because I wasn't looking after myself. I was working too many hours, 11 o'clock at night emails, go to the toilet in the middle of the night and take your bloody phone. And so many salespeople that I've been speaking to lately about the retreats are like, Kyles, we can't, we just haven't got time. We have to make hay while the sun shines. Well, sometimes if you don't stop and remove yourself from that, use me as a
it's a really hard message to get across though, isn't it? Because unless you've had personal experience, you do, and I'm absolutely guilty of it. I could not tell you the last time I had a day off because I've, as everybody knows, maybe I'm talking to you today for a reason, right? Just buying into the business, there was a lot more involved in the changeover than we were expecting. And obviously I'm on the road with the REI and I just have to work every day. Pretty much.
Yeah, and the next time I talk to you, you'll be sick, right? Like you'll get a cold.
Last week I got a cold. I was sick last week.
Right? The high performers, and they go and go and go, and then you lose downtime anyway. So I think for people is just having a good hard look at yourself. And like you said, I've been in corporate, but when you go away and you get out of your environment and you're with 8 or 10 amazing operators, there's only great things that come out of that. And I don't know about you, but whenever I've stepped out of my business or any of my roles and had a couple of days, that's when you have the great brain explosions.
Yeah, it's true.
And, we all service our car. Yeah. We all change the oil and put new tyres on. And I just think for the people that say we don't have time, it's a very dangerous place to be.
The reality is that most of us would be having a lot more holidays normally than we've been having in the last 12 months, right? Because of, or coming up to 18 months really, because we haven't been really able to go away. So most people are just working.
I just think it's, again, high performers, high Ds in the industry, who have got associates or staff are all about accountability and how many calls you do and the connection. And time management is so important yet in their own life. And I look at their calendar and it's just insane, but not even planning for their, every 3 months, that weekend off, making sure their leave's booked for the entire year, making sure they've got some time with their family. And that's one of the things I love about the 4,000 acre property that we go to. Whilst there is service in everybody's cabin, we don't have Wi-Fi.
Yeah, right.
So if you want to bring your own Wi-Fi, it was funny on the last one, I had a lady who had my Nighthawk for longer than I did, because she was, by day 3, she was just starting to get there, but she had separation anxiety. So there is Wi-Fi in the conference centre, but in the rooms we do that on purpose. So if you really want to turn off, phone service fine, but it's like I said, that wellness piece and just being and stopping has to happen.
Yeah, it's a really great message, and I'll be interested to see how you manage to get that out to, because I know you will, to more people over time. It's a really good message. I wanted to talk to you about leadership. I think that one of the things that we really suffer with in our industry is lack of real leadership. Most of our business owners are either really good salespeople or property managers that then go, I want to do this for myself. And they don't really understand the difference between being a leader and being a manager and a business owner. Do you agree?
500%. And I think everyone thinks because they own an office, oh, I'm a good leader, I've got here. When in fact 70 to 80% of all principals in real estate have by default been good sales agents who have had no formal training in leadership, who just land with an office for one reason or another. But as you say, I think sales agents as well, particularly now when there's EBUs or people are building teams and they might have a team manager, an associate, a buyer's agent and an agent. And often we see in our industry a lot of turnover in that space. And I think because the lead agent or the conjunctional or contractor agent doesn't have the skills or have been shown the skills, how to lead, inspire, nurture, take feedback and give it.
Yes.
So we're very good in the industry of giving it but not taking it. And I think that's true.
So true. I was having that conversation with somebody the other day. It's so important to make time to have those proactive conversations rather than just because if somebody approaches us at the wrong time, we react rather than respond. And then the whole thing just turns into a complete debacle, right?
I think once you know those triggers, and again, if you haven't done any, formal training in it, you don't know the triggers. Or even, sometimes people go back to something that they were told earlier in their professional career and it can be a trigger. And the industry's fundamentally changed, even in the last just 12 months, let alone 5 to 10 years.
Massively.
So I know some of the messages I got, 27 years ago getting into the industry from leaders is very different to what you give now. And they used to talk about the 4 C's. That's all you need to know about leadership. Like it's about 20 C's now. So in our sales agents retreat in June, we're actually doing a whole day on leadership.
Are you? That's fantastic. I don't think most salespeople equate good leadership with better income or better profitability, and they really should, right?
500%. So, I don't know what it is for an individual sales agent. I've been a bit removed for that, but for an office, it's about 30 grand to recruit someone, bring them in, onboard them. And if you don't get that leadership piece right, and you've got people turning over all the time at that sort of cost, certainly affects your profit. And then, that attraction agent with your leadership, like having a good office and a sexy shop front. Yeah.
And even if you're not turning over staff, engaged team members work so much harder and more effectively than people that are disengaged and can actively, there's all kinds of things that can go wrong.
Empowering them. So, that they realise that that's the way to go. And everyone around them has got a responsibility as leadership. And, good leaders create more leaders, not followers.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what would you, other than going to your retreat, of course, in June, how would you suggest people start to educate themselves on what leadership is all about? Have you got any resources that you turn to? Question without notice.
I think there's so many good podcasts.
There are.
You just go into the App Store and literally search by it. We'll be doing, I think there's a few really good coaches, be it real estate or not real estate, that are doing some exciting stuff with leadership training at the moment. But I do think to get the full impact of it, you need to be face-to-face at the moment and talk to other leaders about their learnings, because good decisions aren't always popular and it's a very lonely place to be, leadership. And I think unless you're sharing those war stories, you might think you're doing something wrong, when in fact you're giving the feedback and you're taking it. The feedback you're getting back may not be right, or it might be right, but what do you do with that when it lands? I think for different personality types, there's different training. So, and I do think for high Ds that are tactile, which is most of our industry, probably 80% of leaders in our industry, you need to be in a room and share that, or on a session like this with other great leaders and share it, and talk about the experiences. But the podcasts are absolutely great. I listen to them all the time, and there's a couple of good ones I can share. If anyone wants, I'm happy for you to text me and I'll flick them out to people. But there's some good ones that have just come on Plinkers in the last little while. I think it's called.
Oh, well, I would love to hear them. I'm a podcast junkie. I listen to them all the time, so let me know. Completely forgotten what I was going to ask you now. That's not very professional of me, is it?
No, I think it's a sign of the kilometres you've done.
It could be. You said there's a couple of things that you said. Firstly, different learning styles for different personalities. One of the things I don't think we do enough of is really understanding different personality styles and how we have to present and communicate with them differently.
Absolutely fundamental. And I think any leaders, they need to understand where they sit, and it can change. You tend to have a primary trait, but good leaders tend to move around, like using DISC as an example, to move around all those quadrants. But, there's McQuaid, there's Caliber, there's quite a few. But for you to be a really effective leader, I think you need to understand inherently what your key drivers are. And then I'm just a firm believer when you're recruiting people, and if they're key people in your organisation, as a part of the final piece of the interviewing process, they should have to do one of those personality profiles, if nothing else, is to show you how to manage them, and also allowing that person to understand with their journey with you in the future where their strengths and weaknesses are. And someone said to me, you need to realise that your greatest strength is probably your greatest weakness. And that's very true in leaders that continually give. I've seen as many good leaders as I have bad in this industry, and people that give all the time and don't take. So what happens is you end up with everyone's problems, and that's exhausting within itself.
Yeah.
Understanding if you are a giver and how to say no and how to push back and empower your people so you're not carrying the load of everybody.
Yeah, that's it. That's so difficult, right? I know. I'll never forget when I first started at Lang & Simmons 25 years ago. We all did the DISC profiles, and it was the first profile I'd ever done, right, 25 years ago. And I read it, and I was just absolutely amazed, because it was me to a T. It was detailed around how to best manage me, how to best communicate with me, all of that. I gave it to my boss, who happened to be an old friend of mine, and he looked at me and said, "Why would I care?" And I went, "Okay, all right then."
Inspiring leadership.
Well, yeah, he got fired and I got his job, so that's how that worked out. It's very
sales agents, Leanne, on that point that you've exactly just said, is they're so busy, right? They're running from one listing, and particularly at the moment, they're not coming up for air, and a lot of good salespeople I know are working insane hours.
Yeah.
If a good sales agent that's got a team in particular, you're putting on an associate or an EA, absolutely fundamental in that recruitment process. If you're a high performer and moving fast, that sense of urgency in DISC and Caliber and McQuaid, if someone hasn't got a sense of urgency above 70%, then go to the next applicant, because it's just not going to work. Yeah,
it's so true. And the other thing that I used to be a recruiter. I spent 3 years as a recruiter in the middle of my real estate journey. Yeah. And I learned very quickly that you always like people that are like yourself. So if you're not careful, you can have a whole team of people just like you, and that's not good for anybody, right? I don't need another one like me. I need someone who's more detailed focused and more, so you can't just employ people that you like, right?
Say that. I call it swinging hands. So when people are recruiting, and in our industry, it drives me mad. Oh, you're doing well, I just want to go for a coffee. Like, I know the conversation goes longer than that.
Yeah.
And then off they go to the coffee shop, they have a chat about everything but what they need in the role. And then they're like, what you said, oh, I really like them, I'm going to hire them.
Yeah.
It's madness.
Yeah, it happens all the time though.
All the time. And then we wonder why it goes pear-shaped. Or you as the leader have to keep, remunerating and encouraging and fostering that person beyond what you expected, and it becomes exhausting. And then all of a sudden, they turn up to work one day and they're in tears and it's all too much for me. Well, that's probably because you hired someone that wasn't right for the role
in the first place.
And didn't have enough resilience and the other traits that make a really good EA. Because EAs aren't like salespeople.
Yeah, otherwise, they're only going to last with you for 6 months at the most, because they're going to want to be out selling, and you won't be ready to let them go.
Yeah, first, right, when you're recruiting. Oh, I really like houses. There's my favourite.
There's a first flag.
Yeah, and I want to get into sales. Okay, so I'll put you in my admin team to make me accountable and be efficient.
No. Yeah, I know. Yeah, crazy. So yeah, big tip: do some profiling, whatever flavour you want to choose. Do some profiling.
And sales agents who've got teams have had training or done any sort of thing in respect to recruitment. So they're the sort of things that I'm trying to focus on and upskill on the retreats. It's not your traditional coaching by any means on the retreats. It's really different, but we all learn from each other as well.
Yeah. Well, and having that small group, that's really unusual, right? To have groups that small. And you're absolutely right. I know some of the trips that I've been, and you've been on some of them as well with realestate.com.au. I know people hate the fact that we go on those trips, but the reality is they are so worthwhile just from the people that you get to hang out with.
Yeah, and those good conversations over dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
When we're sitting on the deck and we're yabbying with a drink and waiting for our dinner around the fire. That's when the spectacular bits of gold come through.
Yeah. How lucky are you being able to be at every single one of them?
I know.
How good is that? Yeah, I love it when a plan comes together. All right. Well, I thank you so much for taking the time and giving it. As I said to you, I've had a lot of people actually say, hey, have you seen Kylie? What's going on? So I thought, why not just get you on the podcast so you can tell everybody yourself?
That's absolutely amazing. And we're starting from next month, we're starting monthly workshops in the city at a site with small groups of 20.
Yep.
And that will be, again, across different functionality within the industry as well. So watch that space. It'll be local.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. I will look forward to hearing more about it as they come out.
All right. Thanks
Perfect.
so much.
Thanks a lot. See you later.
Bye.